Hello, this is the Scene Podcast. It's Tuesday, February 20th. I'm Patrick Prince, joined by scene writer Jimmy Trammell. Jimmy, last week you and our editor Jason Collington had a great conversation about your Footloose story. So, for those who haven't had a chance to read that, I would encourage you to go on our website and check it out. Really good story by Jimmy on the 40th anniversary of Footloose. But today we're going to talk about something, Jimmy, that you and I were both at, the Eagles last Tuesday at the BOK Center. It was your second time to see them, their sixth time playing at the BOK Center. Why don't you just take it from here and kind of tell us your general thoughts?
Well, obviously it's the long goodbye tour, which presumably it's their last tour stop in Tulsa. But kind of my takeaway from the whole experience was, gee, why does it have to be the end? 'Cause they're still at the top of their game, so no one is clamoring to kick the Eagles out the door. I mean, just keep this tour going for another go around. We're good with that.
Completely agree, Jimmy. Of course, this is the band that once named a tour the Goodbye One Tour. Or no,
Hmm,
I think it was the Farewell One Tour. They thought
okay.
that was a little cagey way to name it. So, but you're right. I was trying to think of just a series of one words to describe it. And it was just, I came up with words like stunning and crisp and perfect. I mean, they continue to sound amazing. You're right.
They're so on their game. And I don't know if that's because they rehearse like heck or they just demand note perfect. Def Leppard is the same way. They're note perfect to what they're. It sounds like they're on the radio when you hear Def Leppard. But the Eagles are. It's just a fantastic experience. And if there's a greater U.S. rock band in America, or obviously in America, if there's a greater U.S. born rock band, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, they now I remember I first saw them in 94 in Oklahoma City at the Myriad, and I remember driving to see that show. I was in college at the time, and I just by fluke of luck heard a great interview on them getting back together, going back on tour, and they
Hmm.
talked about in that interview on the radio the pains that they went through to ensure that they sounded good and that
Hmm.
they were very particular about things like microphones and where they were placed and all the things,
Sure.
and it completely shows. I've seen them three times. They've never not sounded awesome.
Well, and you and I had an email exchange also, and I think we established that if you don't like the Eagles, you're pretty much just a music snob. And you've decided that because something's popular, you don't like it, because there's everything to like about the Eagles. As I wrote in the review, they perfected the soup. I mean, it's perfect. All the ingredients are perfect. Uh, Desperado was never released as a single, and yet it's playing on classic radio right now. And Rolling Stone named it one of the top 500 songs of all time. They perfected the soup.
What are some of your favorite songs that you heard the other night?
Oh Lord, just everything. I mean, the entire catalog you just love. I did some math before the show, before the last show at BOK Center, and you think, gee, what songs do they play? They played 46 different songs in their six shows at BOK Center. And granted, some of that is bloated a little bit by the Long Road Out of Eden tour, their newest album. When they first played the BOK Center, they were playing more songs of their fresh material, which you tend to do because you want to move the album, right? But now those songs have kind of gone off the set list, and it's just back to classic Eagles stuff. Even though I like those Long Road Out of Eden songs, they're just as I mean they fit right in with the rest of the catalog.
Yeah, I mean, and again, back to, you and I were emailing back and forth. It was a great show. They played what, 20 songs,
Yeah,
2 hour set. Of course, Steely Dan opened. They played about an hour. Um, you don't want to complain about what you didn't hear because you heard so many great classic songs.
sure.
But yeah, it would have been cool to hear a couple of songs off the Eden album. It's a great album. I would have loved to have heard those. I didn't see them at that time when that album came out, so I've
Mhm.
never heard those songs live.
Yeah. Hey, and you know what? This is the first time they had an opening act at BOK Center, and I was glad they did because it was just a change of pace. You got to hear another classic band play their hits, and granted, it eliminated like eight songs from the Eagles set list that you probably would have heard otherwise. But to me, it was just like having your cake and eating it too, that you got to see basically an Eagles greatest hits show plus Steely Dan.
Jimmy, didn't you feel the way they opened with Seven Bridges Road just sort of set, even though it's an a cappella song, it just
Right.
sort of set the perfect tone.
Yeah, it lets you know these guys can harmonize, and here's what you're in for.
Yeah. I thought Already Gone was particularly good. And I don't know why I think that. It's not necessarily one of my favorites, but I just thought they did it really, really well. I don't know. Was there any song like that that just sort of stood out to you where you're like, they all sound great, but this one
Right.
sounds maybe a little better than the others for whatever reason?
Well, Vince Gill sounds like he could have been with the Eagles forever and not just lately because he fits right in. Maybe it's that pure Prairie League background that he has, back in the day. And Don Henley seems very appreciative that Deacon Fry and Vince Gill are people who allow them to carry on today and tour. I mean, they could tour without them, but they had so much more adding those two extra voices. But going back to your question, I am fascinated by what Joe Walsh brings to the table because anytime Joe Walsh brings one of his songs or a James Gang song to the table, it's like the crowd gets on steroids all of a sudden. I mean, all the Eagles catalog and songs are great, but for people just jump on the Joe Walsh bandwagon when it's his time in the show.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's almost like a show within a show, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah. And they're smart to let him do the, life's been good to me so far. And, the James Gang songs. Uh, he, he brings really an element of fun to the show, I should say. That's the main thing. He seems fun.
Yeah, that's a good word. And I think, his name is Stuart Smith. He's been playing guitar with him, what seems like, 20 years now, maybe since Don Felder left, a long time,
Forever.
forever.
Forever. Yeah.
Just as like note perfect as he is, he seems like the perfect complement to Walsh as well. I feel like.
I wonder why they just don't say, uh, you don't think of him as an official member of the Eagles, but yet he is. I mean, just add him, take him from the practice squad, put him on the roster. I mean,
Well, and he was co-writer on some of the songs on the Eden album as well. I mean, he's
mm,
written with him
yeah. How many times did you say you've seen the Eagles, Patrick?
3 times.
Three times.
I
Okay.
saw him in '94, and then last year, and then Tuesday.
Picking a best concert ever is really a fool's gold. There's really no such thing as the best concert ever. But it reminds me of one of my cousins asked me once, like, what's the best concert you ever seen? And asked him the same question, and we came to the conclusion of, gee, I don't know if Paul McCartney was, but who's better than Paul McCartney? And you can kind of say the same thing about the Eagles too. Like, I don't know if that's the best concert I've seen, but who's better?
That's a great way to put it. I don't know. I just and I keep thinking what you said earlier. I mean, they've been touring a long time, but they're still so good. If it was the last time, that's kind of sad because they sound and they look pretty good. They look like they're holding up pretty well, and they still sound just brilliant.
Yeah, and hopefully they got another leg in them, that this can be just leg one of the farewell tour, and they'll come back around for leg two. But since they opened BOK Center, it'd be wonderful for Tulsa if they ended their farewell tour in Tulsa, but typically that's going to happen in California or something like that. I think that Kiss ended in New York because that's where their roots were. So if you pick the perfect spot for the Eagles to finish up, it will likely be in California somewhere, Hotel California.
Nice, Jimmy. Nice. What do you think of Deacon Fry?
Uh, I enjoy him. It was interesting because the time I saw them in 2018, it was on Father's Day at BOK Center. And they acknowledged that here's Deacon Fry, the son of Glenn Fry, playing at a Father's Day concert for the Eagles, and the crowd was really appreciative of that. So I think it's just great that the legacy keeps it going.
Yeah, he performed with the Eagles for a while and then announced that he wasn't. And
Yep.
so I didn't see him last year with them. For me, it was really good to see Deacon Fry play with the Eagles. And I don't know if you noticed this, Jimmy, maybe you did. I'm pretty sure he was playing his dad's guitar on
Mm.
Already Gone. Now he may have played it on other songs too. I don't remember. But if you're a Glenn Fry fan and or the Eagles fan, Glenn Fry had this guitar. I think it was a Gibson Les Paul Jr. I think it's kind of black or dark colored. And he played it all through the Eagles and played it on some of his solo career. And that guitar's even in a couple of videos. I think it was in the Heat Is On video
Mm.
from the Beverly Hills Cop soundtrack. Anyway, it looked like that's the guitar Deacon was playing near the end. I thought that was a nice little tribute.
In 2018, they did play Tulsa Time as part of their set list, and Don Henley incorrectly credited J.J. Kell, but it's not a J.J. Kell song. But I was hoping there might be some little Easter egg like that at this most recent show, that they would give because of Vince Gill playing a home state show, they might do some kind of Easter egg song for him. But great show regardless.
Yeah, but yeah, good point. I'm a huge fan of Lion Eyes. I think that might be my favorite Eagles song if I had to pick one. What about you?
I really don't have a favorite Eagles song. I enjoy the whole catalog, and I even enjoy the solo efforts of Glenn Fry and Don Henley. I wore out Dirty Laundry, back on the radio back in the day when it first came out. And to me, if you had to pick one Don Henley song to be on the Eagles set list, I think they picked the right one. I think Boys of Summer, which he dedicated to Jimmy Buffett, is just a fantastic song.
And you know who wrote that song?
I don't.
Uh, his name is, oh my gosh, his name is escaping me. Tom Petty's guitar, Mike Campbell.
Oh, did he really? Wow.
Mike Campbell wrote that song, or at least a demo. I don't know if
Okay.
he wrote like the lyrics and all that. I think Don Henley did that, but he presented it to Tom Petty. Mike Campbell did, and Tom apparently wasn't hip on the song, so he gave it to Don Henley, and it became one of his signature songs.
And Mike Campbell's coming to town for a Carney Fest here pretty quick, so we'll just have to ask him about that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think it's maybe, I don't know, 5, 7 years old, but there's a really cool performance of that song, Boys of Summer, that Don Henley did on Howard Stern show. Have you seen it?
I'll have to go seek it out. I haven't seen it.
It's really good. It's really different. I mean, he's got the whole band there. I mean, like they do on Howard Stern. They bring in, the band. And it's a more, you just need to go check it out. It's a little different, but it's good. It's a real good. I think he's in like a red shirt, but yeah, go YouTube it. It's really, really good. What do you think attendance was, Jimmy? I'm always curious with attendance figures. They didn't release official figures, correct?
They did verify it as a sellout, even though you could get tickets day of show, and it did set a record for the highest single grossing show one-day event in BOK history.
I mean, it holds what, 18, 19?
Yes.
And it was full except for the little back part behind the stage. But, well, Jimmy, before we get out of here, I mentioned it at the top, but why don't you take just a second or two and talk about your Footloose story? As I said in the beginning, if you haven't read this, it's really worth your time. Jimmy, take it from there.
Just the basics. Footloose, the film, turned 40 this month. Released in 1984. It was written by Dean Pitchford, who also co-wrote all the songs on the soundtrack, which is just amazing. He's going in the Songwriters Hall of Fame this year, deservedly so. But people may not know. I mean, I have friends who didn't know that the story of Footloose in the film was inspired by something that happened in an Oklahoma town, Elmore City, in 1980. The town had a public law against dancing, or you couldn't dance in public. But so the kids didn't get a prom. They always had a junior senior banquet, and they would just go home or go bowling or something. No prom. In 1980, the students said, "Hey, we'd like to have a prom." and they waged this campaign to have a prom that somehow went viral before being viral was such a thing. It made national news. People magazine covered this historic prom in Elmore City. Dean Pitchford, who wrote Footloose, saw a little bitty short newspaper story in the San Francisco Chronicle, and it caught his attention. And from that he visited Elmore City, wrote the movie Footloose. It's not like the actual true step-by-step based on here's what happened in Elmore City, but it certainly was the seed that planted the idea for Dean Pitchford.
And of course, you went to Elmore City recently to do some reporting and kind of talk to some folks, which I thought was interesting. I love it, when you're doing a story like that, when we can actually go to those places and talk to those people. So yeah, really, really good story and a fun read if you haven't checked it out. Well, Jimmy, let's leave it there for this week. The Scene podcast will be back next week. Jimmy, appreciate the knowledge. We'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you, Patrick.